The Face Off Sports Network presents the Fantasy Football Face Off. Get ready for fantasy, DFS, and betting talk to get you in the game. If you want to win, you have to tune in. With your host, Anthony Servino. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Face-Off.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's me, Fantasy Savvy Steve D'Angelo, and the real NFL guru, Anthony Servino. We're taking it back with the intro. I kind of like it with that one. So we are here for the Divisional Round, back for NFL picks. We've been doing this every single week since week 2. Anthony has joined me the last couple weeks, so we don't have a full record for Anthony. Anthony's first week was really last week, so maybe we'll tally his picks this week as we go into the championship week and then Super Bowl, and hopefully we could do a show all next year as well, which would be great. Also, I think we got some college basketball picks coming up soon as college basketball season starts to kick in. Also, NBA, that's going to start heating up a little bit after the NFL season is over. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to the show. Tons of different types of content out there on the YouTube site. So make sure if you guys are watching on Twitch or Twitter or Facebook, head over to YouTube and give us a like over there. But Anthony, we are here for divisional picks. I just want to go over my record for the year. Now, I've been picking since week 2. I'm now 78-1, and that is just that I'm full 50%. That is just sides and totals. Last year, again, I was 87-74-2, picking all the way through the Super Bowl. I think that was 54.5%. So still got time to get over that 52.5%, get into the winning circle here. You got to hit over 52.5% to start cashing. But hey, 78-1, 50%. You're not really losing anything. You're just here for the entertainment. So we'll see what we got this week. We got some huge games, some really serious games. If you guys missed it, we did a full preview the other day with the full face-off crew, including the mediators. Go check that out on the YouTube page. That got a little bit interesting, especially towards the end when we talked about the Bills Baltimore game. Obviously, it always gets interesting when we talk Josh Allen. But Anthony, we're going to start with the first game here, and that is going to be Houston going to Kansas City. It's going to be cold. It's going to be pretty damn cold there. I believe about 20 degrees, and there is a chance there could be some – actually, no, that's Philly game. So it's just going to be cold. I don't think there's going to be any precipitation in this game. The first game these guys played back in December 21st. Chiefs won 27-19. And that was Marquise Hollywood Brown's first game back. He had 45 yards receiving. Tank Dell was also around for that game. He had a nice game, 98 yards and a touchdown. I think that's the game he may have actually got hurt and was out for the year.
Yes, yeah, he got hurt on the touchdown play.
Right. I remember that. And he was on his way to having a pretty big game. The Texans offense didn't look bad. I mean, Stroud, 23 of 39, 244, 2 touchdowns, did throw the 2 picks. Mixon was 14 of 57. Nico had 7 for 60. Schultz, 5 for 45 and a touchdown. Mahomes passed for 260 and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt had a touchdown of 55 yards. Mahomes also ran for 33 yards and a touchdown. Worthy had a nice game as he's been coming on towards the end of the year, 7 for 65 and a touchdown. Pirine, 3 for 50 through the air. And then Hollywood, like I said, 5 for 45. Hopkins, 4 for 37. Kelsey, 5 for 30. And Noah Gray, it seems like ever since Hollywood came back, he's kind of a little faded into the wind a little bit. He had that little hot stretch. But the spread in this game is 8.5. The total is 41.5. 62% of the bettors are on the Texans. 57% of the bettors are on the over. And the best number, it's pretty much 8.5 across the board. The total is either 41.5, 42.5, depending on where you look. I just think Joe Mixon, like he had some kind of ankle injury in practice. Now they're saying he's going to play. They're saying it's not a major injury, and he looked great last week. But how severe is if they can't get Joe Mixon going in this game? I don't like it. I don't. It's going to be cold. It's going to be Andy Reid with a couple weeks off to prepare. I know, you can say the Chiefs are going to be rusty, but this team has, they're so experienced. They're a championship team. They won 3 championships. Their defensive coordinator has been there forever. Their offensive coordinator, it doesn't matter. It's Andy Reid with Matt Nagy. Who gives a shit? It's Andy Reid's show. Mahomes, Kelsey, they've all been there. So I think the Chiefs get this W and also cover on the spread -8.5. The total, I would lean to the over, but I don't want to make an official play. What do you think, Ant?
Yeah, this is a tough game to handicap because you can make a case either way. Kansas City, not the greatest team when it comes to covering the spread. And that's really in the Mahomes Reid era. Like just in their past 10 alone, Chiefs are 3-7. But if we can grasp onto anything, they are 3-1 in their past 4 games. In that stretch, the only game they didn't cover was that blowout loss to Denver week 18 when Kansas City started Wentz and the rest of their B team. So they were heating up down the stretch here, but this is a much larger spread, 8.5 points. They kind of, it was, I'm not going to call it a blowout, but it was a pretty large win, or large enough, against Houston earlier this year. And there's no Tank Dell. You mentioned the Joe Mixon injury. That's concerning. I do think the Chiefs probably get off to a slow start because of that lengthy break, but a slow start. Maybe they go, the first quarter with 3 points on the board, but it's going to be only a matter of time before this offense heats up. This is going to be the first time all year the Kansas City Chiefs defense is going to be fully healthy. They're getting Watson back, one of their premier corners. And offensively, this is another week healthy with Hollywood Brown and Isaiah Pacheco. If I have any worries on the Chiefs at all, can they run the football? They were not running the football well. Even with Kareem Hunt, as effective as he was just getting a lot of volume and scoring touchdowns. Pacheco comes back. He hasn't looked right. I do think they're going to try to run the football, but this is going to come down to Mahomes and Kelsey and the rest of them. So I'm going to still lean Kansas City to cover the 8.5 points. I think when it's, I don't think Houston has enough of juice offensively to make this a football game in the second half. This could be one of those 3-point games going into halftime. Then the second half, Kansas City turns it on. Plus, if you watch that game, Houston against the Chargers, if they didn't turn over the football so many times, I'm talking about the Chargers, there's a good chance the Chargers probably win that game.
Yeah, you know what? That game completely changed after that Xavier, that botched snap, and then he rolls out his Xavier Hutchinson. And then after that, it was like this was CJ Stroud from 2023 again, all of a sudden. Like he started to really click. And then Mixon, who hasn't been running the football good for the past 6 weeks, all of a sudden he just turned, he looked like Joe Mixon from earlier in the year and last year as well. But with that ankle injury, I don't know how hurt he really is. So is it a high ankle sprain of any sort? Is it going to slow him down? I mean, that just spells trouble to me. I just don't like that. I mean, you need to be healthy against the Chiefs in this spot. And Pete says,
didn't Mixon miss time earlier this year with an ankle? Was that an ankle earlier this season that cost him 3 games? I think it was an ankle too.
I think he may have missed a couple games. I don't really remember that, though.
He did. He missed from weeks 3 to 5, and I think it wasn't at the ankle.
Okay. And who were they going to at that point? Cam Akers, right?
Yeah.
Cam Akers when he was on the Texans.
Yeah, because Pierce was hurt at the time.
Yeah, Pierce. And Pierce had that nice run against the Titans. I think he broke off like an 80-yard run, but he's been pretty terrible. But maybe he could step up. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. No Tank Dell. Schultz, the Chiefs don't really guard tight ends too well. He could have a nice day. They've been leaky against tight ends all year. Nico got it going last week. Robert Woods is a little bit banged up. We'll see if John Mechie can step up. But, yeah, Stroud's really going to have to play really, really well. I got a really nice prop, actually, I'm going to get to in a minute. But Pete says, why is Anthony the only person who has a picture in the intro? That's that introduction. I clicked on the wrong one. because Anthony, I think, just does that when he does his solo shows. So
Yeah.
And then Pete says that Pete guy is pretty cool. Well, some will agree and disagree. I think Pete is hot and cold at times. Jamie says free expert predictions that are worth millions. I totally agree. Jamie says, what up, Pete? Al's here, says, sup, everyone. Zach says, sup. Jamie says, Clay Martin is active for the Chiefs this week. Chiefs are 6-0 when Clay Martin officiated during the Mahomes era. Interesting stat there from Jamie. He's always got some nuggets. Our boy Greg is here. And Zach says Lions in the over. We'll get to that, but I wanted to get into this prop. Talking about CJ Stroud, what did you notice? What was one thing you noticed from CJ Stroud last week in that Chargers game? That was a little bit different.
He was running more.
Right. And I think that's going to happen again. I mean, I think he realizes that kind of helps their offense a little bit, and I think that gave him a little bit of a boost. So the total is only 14.5. I think he's going to really want to run the football. I really think he's going to do it. So I love that prop this week, over 14.5. And I don't really see a lot of people talking about it. So it doesn't seem like it's that popular. It's not really juiced. It's just minus 115. And again, I think they'll be down in this game. The lack of, Nico and Schultz is decent, but the rest of the weapons are really not that great. So I think Stroud's going to have to use his legs, and he can use his legs. He can run a little bit.
And he went over that line when they played earlier this year, rushed for 2 for 23.
Right. There you go. And I was just looking at, I think Baker ran for 20 yards against them. So there's Allen obviously went over and Lamar went over, but you see guys like Baker Mayfield go against the Chiefs over. That's a very, very easy number to attain here. So I like that prop. Anything you like as far as the prop market here?
Yeah. Playoff Kelsey. This is going to be an easy one. I went to this last year as well after Kelsey had a pretty bad year, had that week, bad year for Kelsey. And then when the playoffs come around, it was like this guy just comes alive, and I'm going to still believe that happens this year. And also historically against the Texans, Travis Kelsey normally plays well. He's had at least 5 receptions in 4 straight games, and he's gone over 6 in 3 of them. In fact, he's gone over 6 receptions in all but 3 games in his career against Houston. So I'm going to take the over on Travis Kelsey receptions, and I just want to see where the line is right now. I think it's at 5.5. It's 5.5 minus 102, almost even money. I'm going to go there, and I'm also going to go with the Travis Kelsey anytime touchdown. Again, playoff Kelsey. He does find the end zone in the postseason quite a lot, plus 145 odds. I think that's pretty good.
And 2 touchdowns for Kelsey is plus 1,100. If you want to go that route and ladder it a little bit. But yeah, over 5.5, I got minus 130. You got minus 102. Which book is that?
FanDuel.
Oh, wow. Big difference there. I mean, that seems like a bet that's going to be pretty popular, but it's Travis Kelsey. He's going to go all out. He's been resting. He's ready. I'm sure they got, him heavily involved in the game plan. He's been the veteran. When Mahomes needs somebody to go to, he's going to be looking to Kelsey, obviously. Worthy's been nice down the stretch. Hollywood Brown, a couple more weeks now. He's been there all year, obviously just hurt. But he's been, studying the playbook. He's been in practices, early before the season started. DeAndre Hopkins really hasn't been doing too much. No. Noah Gray's kind of disappeared. The rushing, I don't know. I don't want to mess with Pacheco. I feel like Pacheco, he had a fibula injury similar to Pollard. I feel like he's just not going to be right all year. I kind of feel like that's going to be it. And they're going to continue to have to mix in Kareem Hunt, who's been pretty good for them, though.
Yeah, I'm not, I kept going to Pacheco's anytime touchdown since he's been back, and he's not getting the opportunity. And when he is, he's not scoring. It's been still Kareem Hunt when they need a short yardage touchdown. And Kareem Hunt has now scored 3 straight games dating back to his days with Cleveland and also earlier this year in that December matchup. So if you do want to take a Chiefs running back to score, my money is going on Kareem Hunt, which means it's going to be a Pacheco game. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be a Pacheco game because they could have just been like, slowly maintaining him, not wanting to give him too much. And now with all this time off, now that they could just really try to unload Pacheco in this game. But Hunt's, again, he's been solid. Again, he fulfilled that promise to Andy Reid when he said, when he comes back, I won't let you down. They didn't want him. They didn't sign him back this year, but they were forced to with the Pacheco injury. And he really delivered. He played solid. I mean, his numbers aren't great, but he's been solid. I mean, give him credit. He really gave the Chiefs a lot this year and really stepped up. One prop, I don't know if I'm going to take it, but I kind of like the odds. You're getting plus 175 for Stroud to throw over 1.5 touchdowns. He did that in the last matchup. They're going to be playing from behind most likely. The weather is just going to be cold. I think it's going to be like 15, 20 degrees, but it's not going to be like a shitty weather game. So I like that plus 175. I don't think that's terrible. And I kind of like the way that, he played that one drive against the Titans in that week 18 game just to get the offense going, but they went right down the field. They scored. And then last week, they didn't start great, but after that Hutchinson play, kind of just kicked everything into gear. So I think they're riding some momentum. I think Stroud can kind of, maybe he reset a little bit here and maybe he plays a pretty good game. So I like that over 1.5 plus the 175. Anything else before we move on?
Yeah, Mahomes, to throw 2 touchdowns is actually minus 160 on FanDuel. So if you want to make that playable, you can parlay that Travis Kelce 25 receiving yards. That brings it down to minus 124, which is a number I will absolutely play at least 1 unit on. So Mahomes 1.5, parlay it with Travis Kelce 25 receiving yards on the alt line. And I do, if you want the value, anytime touchdown score this game, Dalton Schultz is plus 340. They brought Deontay Johnson. I doubt it's going to have a role in this game. And they need help at wide receiver. You mentioned earlier the Chiefs are not good against the tight ends. Dalton Schultz is 5 for 45 the last time these two teams played. I might run the gauntlet on Dalton Schultz, his receptions, yards, and touchdown. I think obviously touchdown's a lot of value on that, but I think the yards and the receptions, which I'm going to pull up now to see what the
37 and a half. I mean, that one makes a lot of sense. And I've heard some other guys in Vegas, listens to a couple of podcasts. They are on that prop as well.
And the receptions for Schultz is 3.5 at minus 168. Again, this is a number I will not play. But again, you can either buy it up. Like I like it up to 4.5. I think 5 receptions is comfortable, but this is another situation. If you want to use the alt lines, you can take Schultz for 3.5 at minus 168. And I would parlay that with Mahomes 1 touchdown, which brings it down to minus 132.
Yeah. And the Chiefs, again, Pitts went for 59. Brock Bowers had 2 huge games. Cade Otton had 77 yards. Dawson Knox had 40 yards. Jatavian Sanders had freaking 49 yards. Stone Smart, 54 yards. And like you said, Schultz, even last game, they faced them week 16, 5 for 45. Yep. So, 37 and a half. Again, no Tank Dell even in this game. I like that too. And Schultz, he is a good player. And Stroud's going to have to lean on him. So, actually, we'll add that in. I think I'm going to take that over 37 and a half. I think we're both in agreement on that. All right. Next game, we're going to go to Saturday night. And this is a very, very interesting game between the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions coming off the bye. And Washington, they get a huge win at Tampa, 23-20. If you remember in that game, Washington drove down the field. I think they got stopped on like 4th and goal. And then Baker, they ran like that reverse to Jalen McMillan. Baker botched it. They fumbled. Washington got the ball back, scored. That was a huge swing in that game. And then, Washington, a tie game 2020. Actually, there was another drive where Baker was driving down and like they had 3rd and short and they got stuffed. And it was 4th and short. and like the center had like a delayed snap, and they had to wait to hand it off to Bucky, and he got stuffed. So that killed them too. That made them kick a field goal. So and then Washington gets the doink field goal to win the game 23-20 at the end. So, a lot of poise by Jaden Daniels for sure. We saw Diami Brown have a really good game. And he's kind of stepped up a little bit, especially last week, 80 yards through the air. Terry McLaurin had another nice day. They're not really getting a running game, but the running backs are catching a lot of passes out of the backfield, and Jaden Daniels has been excellent. So, interesting spread here, 9.5, where, depending on where you find it. But so I think I'm going to go with Washington here to stay within the number. I don't know if they could win this game, but I think they'll definitely stay within the number. I think worst comes to worst, Daniels backdoors this somehow. And I also like the total. I just feel like there's going to be a ton of points between the Lions and the Commanders, over 55.5. I just think both offenses are going to be nonstop scoring, especially Detroit. I think Tampa, we've seen them all year. They've struggled. They've been kind of inconsistent at times. Baker, they'll have a couple good drives, and the drives will stall. But the Lions, man, I mean, they've put up so many huge games on offense, especially the past couple of weeks. 40 against San Francisco, 42 against the Bills, 31 against Minnesota. So I think the Lions will score. Washington's going to have to keep up. I think Washington will stay within the number. If you want to tease both Washington and the over, I like that as well. But let's go with Washington plus 9.5. And we'll see if it moves up to 10 by game time, and then the over 55.5. What are your thoughts?
I think earlier in the week, it was around 8.5 when we did the show Wednesday night. I'm kind of on the fence here because I like Detroit to win by 10. So if I can get this number 9.5, even if it goes up to 10, I would buy it down at 9.5. I think this is a double-digit point victory for Detroit. One of the more underrated storylines that is not getting talked about enough. Because, Detroit's defense lost a lot of pieces. Down the stretch, they were atrocious. Well, what changed in that Vikings game? Alex Anzalone came back. He's a veteran. He's the captain of that defense. And he had a monster game. I think he led that team, the Detroit Lions, in that game in tackles. He's all over the field. I think he has the green dot in the back of his helmet. Like, he means a lot to that defense. And with Anzalone back, I do think, is there a world? Because I remember, I think it was you or somebody said that earlier this year, Richardson ran for a lot of yards on Detroit. There was another, maybe it was Josh Allen. I forgot what the other quarterback was, ran for a lot of yards. Anzalone missed both of those games. I think he makes that much of a difference to where, maybe they spy, Jaden Daniels. You're not going to shut down Jaden Daniels, but can you try to contain him? They haven't been running the ball well, and kind of put this game on the arm of Jaden Daniels. The only receiver that really should scare that Aaron Glenn defense is Terry McLaurin. And I get Diami Brown had a good game, and Zach I just think what Detroit's going to bring is going to be too much when it's all said and done. And similar to how I feel about Kansas City, at some point in the second half of this game's going to get blown open. Like we saw that against Vikings. That game was close at halftime. Then Jahmyr Gibbs took over. And that's what the Lions have versus what I don't think the Commanders have, right? Like the Commanders have Jaden Daniels, right? He's a game changer. They don't really have Austin Eckler at this point. He's not a game changer anymore. Is McLaurin really a game changer? Where you look at Detroit, you got Gibbs and you have Jamison Williams. Both of those guys are home run hitters anytime they touch the football. And I think it's going to be some, these big time plays that the personnel for Detroit has versus what Washington doesn't. And eventually this game is going to get blown open.
Yeah, McLaurin this year had a great season. 1,000 yards.
He did.
1,100 yards, 13 touchdowns on 82 catches. So his best year by far, because every year he was like, 4 or 5 touchdowns. So,
but you didn't really got a double cover. Maybe outside of McLaurin, like there's no other pass catcher.
No, but I do think that, Zacchaeus has played pretty well. And you got Zach Ertz. He's made big catches. He's been big for them. And, you know, give Diami Brown credit. I thought he had a pretty good game. He's been pretty steady the past couple weeks. And that's why I kind of like his prop over 34.5. He had 80 yards last week. I think the last like 4 or 5 weeks, he's averaging about 45 yards. I think this prop started at like 31. So it went up. So people were betting it. So I like Diami Brown. I also like Terry McLaurin over 67.5. Like you said, he's got to get it done. They're gonna get him involved in the game plan. I like that a lot. I think he could definitely score in this game too. Again, 13 touchdowns in this one. And then I like Daniels over 1.5 passing touchdowns minus 115. But yeah, I mean, Gibbs and Montgomery, now he's back. Like, I think Washington's in trouble. I think they're going to be able to run on him. I think they're going to be able to pass on him. And that's why I really like the over. But I do think that, you know, maybe they can get a couple stops here and there. Maybe they can get a strip sack on Goff or maybe a pick, a lucky pick, or maybe a big play on special teams or something. I just do really like them with the number. Oh, not really like, but I would go with them, 9.5 or 10, wherever it goes to. Are you on Washington as well? Are you taking the Lions?
No, I'm taking the Lions at 9.5.
Okay. What about the total? Anything on that?
I'll go with the over. Right, this over should hit with the. We know Detroit's going to score points. It's just a matter of can Washington score enough? And I think they should. Like, I don't think this is going to be like, a situation like in Minnesota where you completely erase that offense. Like, Washington's still going to score points, but I think there's going to be enough points scored where, I'm not asking like for a 21-point victory. I think I see a good like 10-point victory here for Washington or for Detroit.
Yeah, I think the spread's pretty close. I think my number was like 8, 8.5. So I'll take the 9.5, 10. With Washington. I just think Daniels he's dynamic, man. Like, he's got the speed to beat defenders. He's making plays with his feet. I mean, a lot of people like the rushing total. I think it's 56.5. I kind of want to take it. I think it's high, but I don't know. I don't want to make it an official pick. It just seems a little too trendy, but what do you think? I mean, they're going to be blitzing him a lot. I think Detroit was the second highest blitzing team behind Tampa this year. And I think I read a stat where Daniels was averaging like 10 yards a clip against the blitz. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, this is a game where he could run for like 60, 70 yards. What do you think?
I mean, the only teams that really shut down Jaden Daniels was what Philly and Pittsburgh. Daniels had a really good year running the football. And again, I do think Alex Anzalone is going to be the difference maker where he slows Daniels down, but slowing him down means he doesn't go for 80.
Yeah.
So I can see a world where he hits this over.
Yeah, I kind of like it. And then, like you said earlier, Richardson ran for 61. Allen ran for 68 on him. And then Kyler Murray back in week 3 ran for 45 on just 5 attempts. Geno Smith actually ran 5 for 38 as well. And Baker 5 for 34 and a touchdown. Mason Rudolph 4 for 29 and a touchdown. So, they've let up some rushing yards. They let up some touchdowns as well. Josh Dobbs ran a touchdown against them. Brock Purdy ran a touchdown against them. So, Jaden Daniels, again, I think he's going to have a really good game. I mean, I think he's going to play well. Maybe he'll throw a pick or two because he's going to have to throw a lot. But I think you could take maybe most of his props and they all could hit in this game. Again, high total, 55.5. It's got to be one of the highest totals of the year. So, definitely in a very, very interesting game. Jamie's got a couple thoughts on this parlay. He says Goff 250 yards passing, Daniels 200 yards passing, Daniels 40-yard rushing, Lions money line and over 55.5 total plus 350. So 3.5 to 1 odds. I mean, you got a lot of things happening there, but everything I just mentioned about Daniels, Lions should get it. So to me, it makes sense. So what do you think, Andy?
Let me see. So Goff 250, Daniels 200, Daniels 40, Lions money line the over. I like it.
Yeah,
I think it's certainly doable.
Yeah, I mean it all correlates. Then he also says, would you add Gibbs touchdown at plus 500 or St. Brown at plus 600 to parlay, or play it safe and add Chiefs money line at plus 450?
I'd probably go. I mean, I do see a world. I mean, Gibbs probably scoring.
Yeah.
But if you do want to play it safe, go Kansas City.
Yeah, plus 450 is pretty good. I think that makes sense too. But yeah, I kind of like that little parlay you put together there. Greg says, think the only game that isn't predictable is Ravens Bills. And our boy Jared says, hey guys, hope all is well. Ready for a great football week. Yes. And also Monday, we got the national championship, Ohio State, Notre Dame on Martin Luther King Day. So that's going to be obviously we got the football tomorrow and Sunday, and then the national championship game to finish it all off. So yeah, certainly a great weekend and holiday football ahead. All right. We'll move to the Sunday games. Is there anything else on that game, or we can move on here?
If you want a same game touchdown parlay, I would go Gibbs, Montgomery, Terry McLaurin. It's only plus 446. But I think it has a really good chance of hitting. I see both of these running backs getting hit the end zone, and certainly if there's going to be a passing touchdown recorded, it's going to go to Terry McLaurin. And then as far as like touchdown props, Goff at 2.5, I don't love that. And 1.5 is going to be juiced. If anything, take the value on Jaden Daniels. I think you're like you said at even money.
Yeah, and I like the McLaurin touchdown as well. If you want to throw that into a parlay, but I do like his yards 67.5, and also Diami Brown, like I mentioned. All right, next game, Sunday 3:30, Rams Eagles. And the spread in this game is Philly -6, total 43.5. Pretty much 6 across the board amongst all the most popular books, and 43.5 looks the same. Rams are plus 2. Best number I see is plus 235 on the money line for Caesars. And then if you want to bet Philly, you're a Philly fan, or you think Philly's just going to win straight up, minus 278 on DraftKings looks like the best number. But again, we saw these two teams play back, I think it was week 12, 37-20 Philly. Rams, the first drive, I think they went down the field and they either kicked the field goal, or I think Kyron Williams may have fumbled on like the opening drive. So that hurt. I also know Cardi missed a field goal in this game as well. But, the two things I noticed from this game was A.J. Brown, they couldn't stop him. And obviously they couldn't stop Saquon Barkley. He ran all over them, had those two monster runs, had 255 yards on the ground on 26 attempts, 2 touchdowns, also had 4 for 47. And then A.J. Brown, 109 yards and a touchdown. I don't know if Devonta Smith even played in this game. He didn't have a catch. Maybe he did. I don't remember. Stafford threw for 243 and 2 touchdowns. They had a garbage touchdown at the end that I think he threw to Kupp to make it third. They were down 37-14. Then they think they went for 2. They didn't get it. So they lost 37-20. Kyron Williams had a pretty good day, 16 of 72 and a touchdown. Puka, 13 targets, 9 catches, 117 yards. And then Demarcus Robinson, 2 catches for 15 yards and a touchdown. Kupp had 8 for 60 on 11 targets and a touchdown. So rematch here. I also noticed that Vic Fangio, he kind of has Sean McVay's number a little bit. If you remember, Anthony, when Fangio was the defensive coordinator of the Bears that one year, I think it was back in 2018. He was like the first defensive coordinator to shut down McVay's offense. And then supposedly Belichick copied his blueprint in the Super Bowl and also shut them down. And, he's kind of struggled with Fangio ever since. He's kind of had his number a little bit. I think they said, I was reading that the last time McVay beat Fangio was when he was coaching back in Washington with Kirk Cousins back in 2014. So Fangio's got a little something. He likes to start with that too high, and then he kind of rotates the safeties, and he plays a lot of different cover 3. And he's been a very, very good defensive coordinator. That last year in Denver wasn't so great, but he's been pretty damn solid throughout his career. And we'll see if McVay, who obviously won a Super Bowl, I thought he called a great game plan last week against Minnesota, coming out passing. And I thought they did a really good job. But in the first matchup, Philly they got to Stafford. They sacked him a ton. Again, they couldn't stop A.J. Brown. They couldn't stop Barkley. So does that continue? Big loss for the Philly defense, though, losing to Kobe Dean. Obviously, he's a really good player, but I like the Rams. I'm going with the Rams +6. I took them on the money line. I'm not going to recommend it in this show on the Wednesday show, but I will recommend them +6 here to cover. I think McVay will make a couple adjustments. I think they'll get the running game. I think they'll slow Saquon down just enough. And I don't know if A.J. Brown is as healthy as he was in that Week 12 game. His knee's a little bit banged up, and Jalen Hurts isn't really playing that well of late either. So I'm going to go with the Rams here +6. What do you like?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Rams to certainly cover. Now, A.J. Brown, it seems like anytime he's not used very much, it's like they hammer him with targets. They get him going early. I am worried about the injury a little bit here. I'm worried about Jalen Hurts. I think the key to the Rams, not only covering, but winning this game outright, and I did take the Rams on Wednesday, and I'm going to continue to take the Rams. You have to sell out and slow down Saquon Barkley. He went, for almost 300 total yards last time these two teams played. Slowing Saquon Barkley down, hold him to 150. Don't let Saquon, whatever you have to do, stack the box. Do not let Saquon beat you, and put the ball in the hands of Jalen Hurts. And if you can do that and you get your young pass rush in Jalen Hurts' face, that is the key to winning this football game. I think Matthew Stafford, when it comes to throw for throw, is still the better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. And when it comes to overall coaching decisions, I trust Sean McVay. So I'm going to lean with the quarterback coaching duo that has already won a Super Bowl together. I think Stafford, he's won in Philly before. He knows the hostile environment. He's been here. And also, and I was one of the FS1 shows I listened to. I think with Acho, with the facility, with all the former players, they mentioned that Philly doesn't, and I'm paraphrasing because I really like it. They don't have a home field advantage when they start slow. Like Philly's crowd will turn on you if you start slow. They like to get into it when you have a double-digit point lead. So if the Rams keep this close and Jalen makes some mistakes, there's going to be the boo birds out.
Oh yeah, they're all miserable. We suck. Forget it. Yeah, I mean that happens in New York too. Not with the Yankees so much, but with the Mets and so the Jets, of course, and definitely down in Philly. They're just those miserable fans will definitely be booing if they have a shitty first half. That is quite possible. Jalen Hurts is going to have to play better. A couple dirt balls last week. Again, A.J. Brown's a little bit banged up. Even Devonta's a little bit banged up. So Saquon is the X factor. I agree with you. You got to slow him down. You got to try to at least hold him to 100 yards, something like that. So yeah, very interesting game. We'll see how McVay does this time around. Going to Philly, and there is a chance, they're saying, of snow. They're saying everything looks to be trending towards a snow game in Philly.
And I think if that happens, I think that levels the playing field because Kyren Williams is a very good running back. He's not Saquon. He's a very good running back.
Yeah. Oh no, he definitely is. He definitely is. And again, Kobe Dean's a big loss, but they have a lot of guys that they could still use. Obviously, they're pretty stacked on defense. Maybe if it's snowing, that kind of helps Hurts run around a little bit more. Stafford's gonna, have to rely on passing. Obviously, he can't really run. Maybe you could say he was a little bit more of a runner early in his career, but obviously he can't run anymore, especially compared to Hurts. So yeah, we'll see. They're saying it's going to snow. There's a good chance of snow. Not many winds. And maybe 15, 20 mile an hour gusts, but 5-10 sustained. So nothing big there. So you like the Rams here as well with me. You also, did you say you like them to pull out the victory too?
Yeah. I'll take them outright.
All right. Ballsy +225. The total is 43.5. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know if I'm going to take anything, but if I had to, probably the under.
Yeah.
Because if the Rams win, if the Rams have a shot of winning and covering, the game's going under.
Yeah, but that could also mean their offense is playing pretty well too. I mean, you could get like a 24-20 type win, 24-23. But yeah, I mean, the under, especially with the snow, that could make things worse. So I don't feel great either way about either one. Couple props that I have on this game. I do like Stafford over 1.5 touchdowns plus 140. I'm going to go with Puka over 86.5. Again, he hit 100 last time. He's going to have to step up. I think McVay will get him in situations where he's open a ton, obviously. And Puka, with Stafford's accuracy and his hands, it just always seems to work. Saquon over 111.5 rushing yards. I think they'll limit him, obviously more than last time, but I still think he could go for like 120, 130 in this game. AJ Brown, I'm going to go with what he did last time, over 60. I mean, he had 100 yards last time. Even with the injury, I'm going to go with him over 69.5. And then I like some defensive props. Nolan Smith, I like the way he plays over half a, one sack, basically plus 100. Milton Williams also plus 195 over a half. And then Jared Verse over a half plus 190. So plus odds on all those guys. If you hit two, if you hit
profiting.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't mind that as well. Any props you like?
Yeah, my favorite anytime touchdown score bet's actually Kyron Williams. I think this is going to be a big Kyron Williams game, and this is a situation I don't mind taking him to not only one, which is even money, but also for two, which is plus 700. And I'll also go with Jalen Hurts, who is playable at minus 110.
Yeah, Kyron is minus 145. What'd you say, plus 700 for 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, but I got even money, plus 100 at FanDuel for Kyron.
Oh, my God. The Hard Rock is horrible. Again, I'm just looking at my local book here in Florida. It's the only book you can use.
Yep, the only legal book in Florida is Hard Rock.
Yeah, so I'm paying. So I got to go offshore if I want to get a better price than that. Minus 145, and Anthony's getting freaking minus 100. They're really ripping me off, so I'm not taking that shit here. Of course not. But that's why it's important to make sure you're shopping lines, getting the best price possible. All right. Anything else before we move on here?
No, we can move on. All
right. Last game, best game of the week. This is going to be an epic classic between these two teams. We're going to get a little bit of weather, certainly. And it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens going to the Buffalo Bills Mafia in Orchard Park in Buffalo, New York, Sunday at 6:30. And I mean, these two teams played early in the year, and the Ravens just completely smacked them in the mouth. It started right off the bat. I think it was one of the first plays of the game. Derrick Henry breaks a freaking 70-yard touchdown. So right off the bat, they're kicking their ass. So 35-10 win. I don't know why this is not popping up here. Just give me a sec. So Baltimore is favored actually in Buffalo, which was surprising. I thought the Bills would be favored by at least 1 or 2 points, but it's Baltimore that's favored. Minus 1.5. The total is over 51.5. And I mean, this is just going to be a classic game. Baltimore, they played, I think it was 2021 in the divisional matchup against Buffalo, and Buffalo got the best of them in that game. There was that pick 6 from Teron Johnson. I think Lamar was mentioning it in one of the press conferences. Lamar's been all business. You saw the thing where he says, I'm not friends with any quarterbacks in the offseason. I'm looking to beat you. We'll joke about it when our careers are over, but this is all business right now. So obviously Lamar, he has been close a few times. Last year they lose to the Chiefs. And he didn't play that well. His postseason history hasn't been that great. The first game he usually plays is solid, and then he kind of folds. But this year, all season, Lamar has just been different. Just throwing the ball, the way he's maneuvered in and out of the pocket with Derrick Henry, I think that has made things easier. But really, as a passer, I mean, I think he's got even better, and this is the best he's ever looked. So this is going to be an incredible matchup. I mean, between these two teams. I'll let you go first here. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm obviously, going to stick with what I said on Wednesday. I think the difference in this game, all kidding aside about Josh Allen and how I feel about Josh Allen being elite or not elite, the difference in this game is if you look, the defenses, I think, ended the season dead even in terms of points allowed. Offensively, like both wide receiver rooms, I don't think they're great. Jose Flowers for Baltimore. I give the tight end edge to Baltimore. But like these quarterbacks, pretty even. So what's the difference in this game? And I think the difference in this game is Derrick Henry. Even if it's a weather game, I think it favors Baltimore. Derrick Henry's a downhill runner. And James Cook, yes, had a great year. 4.9, I believe, yards per carry. Then you look at Derrick Henry, just over 120 more carries. And normally the efficiency goes down. No, he averages a full yard per carry more than James Cook. He's at 5.9. And I think that the Derrick Henry factor is the reason why Baltimore's favored. Because let me tell you something. Without Derrick Henry, I'm probably picking Buffalo to win. Without Derrick Henry, I don't think Baltimore's favored on the road. I literally think the difference in this game is Derrick Henry. Because Lamar has not played well in a lot of playoff games. But he's never had Derrick Henry before in the playoffs till last week. So, I think Baltimore this offseason, they had a mission. And their mission was to go bring in somebody like Derrick Henry to take some of the pressure off Lamar Jackson. And I think it continues this week.
Yeah, I could certainly see Baltimore winning this game. It's going to be a great game, but I got to go with Buffalo. I just think obviously I'm going to pick Buffalo. It's a little bit of a biased pick, obviously, because I want to see Allen get that Super Bowl so Hoff can finally call him elite. And also you could jump on that bandwagon as well. But I mean, Lamar, he's played unbelievable. Like some of the throws, like he's played insane. And Derrick Henry's been one of my favorite players since he came into the league as well. And he's a Hall of Famer. The way he's still producing at this age. Jose Flowers in this game. But, likely Andrews, Bateman has stepped up. Aguilar is not a bad option to use. And they have Derrick Henry and Lamar's legs. So, and their defense has been playing better. Now, their schedule hasn't been great down the stretch, and they played some shitty teams, but still a tough run D. And they still got a lot of playmakers in the secondary as well with Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton. But I do like Buffalo. I think they'll get it done. After losing to Cincinnati a couple years ago at home in that snow game, and then last year to the Chiefs, Tyler Bass missed the field goal at the end to put it into overtime. So I think Buffalo will get it done minus the 1.5. I really think they'll get it done. And then also I'm going to take the over. I just feel like it's going to be cold as shit. And Lamar is from Florida. He's from Pompano Beach, Florida. But he's been playing in Baltimore. It gets cold up there. I mean, it's not Buffalo cold. Like that's a different level type of cold. I used to live in North Jersey. It got colder, but it was usually like 20, 30. Every once in a while, get into the teens. But I remember visiting my cousin up in Saratoga one year, and like I walked outside my car, it was 0. And
I love it up there about Saratoga.
That's definitely a nice area, especially in the summer. But upstate New York is beautiful. But anyway. But Buffalo, I think it's going to be like, I don't know, 10 degrees. And they're talking about snow in this game as well. Frigid temperatures, chance for snow. We'll see what happens. I think the weather definitely favors Buffalo. Obviously, with the home crowd, these people are not going to shit. They're going to be jumping into fences. They're going to be all liquored up and fired up, ready to go. They'll be screaming throughout the game, even if Buffalo's down 10. And we've seen Buffalo come back in games too. So even if they go down, I still think that's not the ideal situation for them, because then Henry obviously is in a better situation. So I do think that Buffalo is going to have to throw the ball a little bit more in this game than usual and rely on Josh Allen's legs, not only his legs, but also his arm. But yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo with the spread and also the over. And then a couple props I like is Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Again, it's a very favorable number, minus 125. I think it was like minus 105 last week. Curtis Samuel, over 13.5 receiving yards. We saw him get heavily involved last week. I think that's going to stay. I think they're going to continue to utilize him. I think he opens things up for them. And I think Amari Cooper is going to have to step up in this game. So over 22.5. I mean, I know he's not playing that much, but I think this week with them having to throw a little bit more, I'm going to take that 22.5. Lamar overpassing 217.5, Allen overpassing 240.5, and then Allen over rushing 44.5. What do you got for the props?
Yeah, Allen to score a touchdown. I think if Buffalo is going to stay in this game, Josh Allen's going to have to be Superman. You're getting plus 105 odds on FanDuel for Josh Allen to score. And this is and Derrick Henry for 2. You're actually getting plus 270, minus 210 for 1. I'm not touching that. That would be a situation where I'll find I'll use that as a parlay piece. For 1, but like as far as like straight touchdown bets, Allen for 1 for sure. I might even consider laddering Allen to 2 for plus 750, and then Derrick Henry for 2. And if you want to parlay, Derrick Henry and Allen 2 each is plus 2560. I actually like that a lot.
To what was it again? I'm sorry.
Derrick Henry and Josh Allen to both score twice.
And what was the odds on that?
Plus 2560. So a $10 bet brings back $256.
All right. I could definitely see Henry and Allen running.
Yeah,
definitely see that. I mean, you could do another one with Lamar, Henry, and Allen all rushing one in too. I don't know what that produces, but
that would be 769. I don't know. I don't love Lamar to score one. I mean, he certainly could, but I don't know. I'm more on Henry.
Yeah, I think Henry gets into the end zone at least once, and Allen certainly could get into the end zone as well. Joe Carlton says, "How dare you leave Justice Hill out?" Hill. I mean, in this type of game,
when these two teams played, and I noted this because like somebody said, "Oh, you're not putting enough stock in Zay Flowers." Baltimore pass catchers, including Flowers, all had like 1 or 2 receptions and like 15 yards. Justice Hill and Derrick Henry were the receiving leaders. I think Hill had like 6 receptions, 60 yards, and I think a touchdown. And then Henry had, I believe, a receiving touchdown, went like 3 for 20 or 3 for 30. So it was literally Baltimore dominated this game with Lamar and their 2 running backs. It was It was just incredible.
Yeah, that was. Again, they opened up the game with the Henry touchdown. Henry had 199 yards. Like you said, Hill had 78 yards and a touchdown. And then Likely was the next leading receiver with 1 catch for 26 yards. So it was a lot of Justice Hill through the air, a lot of Henry. And Lamar Jackson also ran for 54 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen did not have, basically what happened this game was they ran that trick play and Roquan Smith caused Allen to fumble. And like I think he was concussed after that, and they basically had nothing after that trick play. It was just a bad call. It changed the whole momentum of the game. But right off the bat, that Henry run really just changed things around. And then I saw, McDermott being interviewed, and they were saying, a lot of talk is your defensive line can't handle the physical nature of the Ravens' run game and Derrick Henry. And then McDermott just basically said, well, we'll find out on Sunday. So. Again, epic matchup. I mean, this is going to be a great game. I do think that whoever wins this game goes on to beat the Chiefs next week and gets the Super Bowl. But obviously, that's going to be a tough task in its own right. Jamie says, "I hate the Ravens, so I hope they lose, but I'm putting my money on the Ravens with the better run game." Yeah. And Jamie also says, "I parlayed that Allen and Henry 2+ touchdowns, and they called me crazy on Player Profiler." So he's got that.
I love that. Listen, Josh Allen to score 3 touchdowns plus 4,500. I will also be playing that. Not a lot, like a $10 bet brings back 450. But again, if Buffalo wins this game, Josh Allen is going to make a strong case to make me call him elite. So yes, I will roll Josh Allen. Josh Allen for 3 plus 4,500. That, like, why not?
Yeah. I actually think Allen could throw 300 yards in this game.
Because when I'm betting, like, I'm going to take my shots, because, like, you kind of have to like run the game script. Well, what happens if this happens? What happens if Buffalo wins? And I think if Buffalo wins, we're getting at least 2, possibly 3 touchdowns from Josh Allen. So I will ladder his rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm gonna. There's some similarities in some past games of Buffalo. Greg says Ravens. If Ravens Ravens win if they go ahead. Can't see them coming from behind. Joe says Justice Hill over 2.5 receptions and anytime touchdown. And then Jamie says, I knew I loved the craziness of Anthony and his bold takes. 100% great minds think alike. And then Jamie says, must be nice to have your money, Anthony. I'm only betting $1 to $5 because I'm a broke bitch.
I'm going to go 10, 5, 10 on those big ones. So
Joe says if Buffalo wins this game, Josh Allen throws for 300 plus 3 TDs and 1 rush TD. And I agree with Joe. Like I could see those numbers hitting because you look at the Rams game when they had to put up all those points and Josh Allen went nuts. And you look at the Lions game and he had to go nuts passing. So I see this game similar. Now the weather could change things a little bit, but I just think Lamar's going to be able to move the ball. I think Henry's going to be able to run the ball. So I think both offenses are going to have to just continuously produce in this game. And I agree with Joe. I think that we could see an Allen 300-yard game, 2-3 touchdowns, maybe 4 touchdowns. So I like the ladders for Josh Allen in this game as well. I really like the ladders. And you could, you get 3 plus 350 on 300 plus passing yards for Allen. All right.
Good value.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, his pass, I mean, he could do it. Again, the Rams, the Lions games, the 2 games he had to do it. Unless the Bills really have something up their sleeve here and really slow this offense down, I just don't see it because I think Lamar is going to be so focused. He's playing on a different level all season long. I just think they're going to put up points. I think both teams are going to put up points. So that's why I like the over and all these ladder bets. Anything else here, Anthony, before we take off here? I mean, I feel like I continue to want to talk about football here. But anything else?
No, I think, I'm excited for this weekend slate. Obviously, I think the game I'm looking forward to the most is Baltimore, Buffalo.
Yeah, but they're all going to be great in their own right. And then again, Monday night, national championship game. And I think I'm going to give a pick here. I think Notre Dame's catching too many points. Martin Luther King Day, Freeman, Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since I think 1988 with Lou Holtz. Now Lou Holtz is talking shit once again, but
he's alive.
Yeah,
he's good for him.
He's still alive.
Jesus.
He's still chugging on. Yeah. So I think Notre Dame covers at least, but I think they also win. And obviously I'm biased. You can see the play like a champion today. Maybe you can't see it, but it's back there. I bought that earlier this season. So I think Notre Dame wins that game for a college bet. But anything else, Anthony, before we take off here?
No, we can wrap up.
All right, guys. Well, make sure you're liking, subscribing. Join us next week for more picks. Also, we'll have the whole staff on for a preview once again, but a bunch of other stuff on the site as well. I believe we're possibly interviewing a Hall of Fame football player next week. So look for that as well. So thanks guys for joining us. For Anthony and I, we'll see you soon. Take care. Enjoy the games. All the best.